fast.
You're not getting your drink. Go.
Talking about Dennis Peak. He has Down syndrome and was planning to retire soon from a Wendy's restaurant in Gaston County. But his family said a store manager fired him because, quote, he wasn't able to do his job like a normal person.
Get out! Get out! When I look at my... I was assaulted and I have a whole crowd with you. She's been shoving us on me the whole time.
Stop it. Stop it.
I can't get a phone.
Oh my God, no.
Pure evil, the McDonald's, Burger King, Chick-Fil-A, and other fast food restaurant files. Deep dive into this topic. McDonald's is the largest fast food company in the United States and in the world alone. In 2018, its nearly 14,000 U.S. stores generated a profit of $38.5 billion in sales, accounting for approximately 15% of all fast food sales in the country. McDonald's is the second largest private sector employer in the United States and in the world, with 1.9 million employees globally. So we all know these restaurants are pro-wage slavery as usual. McDonald's, with its cheap hiring gimmicks, promoting a brighter future, and attempted to co-opt the Black Lives Matter movement with its promise to fund black futures, has a long history of exploitation of its workers and its employees worldwide. Though it claims to offer excellent career opportunities, this is a huge-ass lie. What opportunities? No, really, what opportunities? McDonald's workers are overworked, underpaid, and neglected while on the job, and capitalism exploitation runs rampant. This is why kids' toys on these pro-capitalism companies are so problematic. They are grooming kids by manipulating them into thinking capitalism exploitation is okay and part of the job. By definition, grooming is when an individual builds a relationship, trust, and emotional connection with someone so they can manipulate, exploit, and or abuse them. AKA, when a CEO calls their employees their family, this is what it is, a manipulation tactic.
I want to know something from your childhood that you thought was okay but now realize is really, really bad.
Okay, so I have two. The first one is my all-time toy that brings back childhood nostalgia for me. I don't have it anymore because I broke it, unfortunately, was this McDonald's playset for kids. I love this toy so much to the point where I broke it and had to throw it away. Unfortunately, I still love the toy though, but I don't know, teaching kids that McDonald's is an awesome company and wage slavery and capitalism exploitation is okay. Chick-Fil-A gave donations to charities that have a long history of anti-lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus communities and activities, even giving money to the Salvation Army that hires known fascists and Nazis and racist people. Chick-fil-A's foundation 2017 tax filings, which list donations to three groups: Fellowship of Christian Athletes, the Paul Anderson Youth Home, and the Salvation Army. Think Progress has accused them of being anti-lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus community. Over $1 million was donated to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, $6,000 to the Paul Anderson Youth Home, and over $150,000 to the Salvation Army. Hooters, for example, is like a restaurant version of the Playboy Clubs. One is considered a family restaurant, and the other is considered a nightclub for adults, but they both have the same exact problems with them. They both have been accused of racism, sexism.
I was shocked. I couldn't believe it.
Johnson was fired in 2013 and had worked there for about a year when she wanted to change up her look, but she says her boss wasn't feeling it.
The manager at the time literally said you can't have blonde because black people don't have blonde hair.
Johnson says waitresses of other races changed their hair and didn't hear about it from management.
Ranging from bright fire engine red to black and blonde streaks, so I was kind of confused on why my hair was an issue.
An arbitrator ruled her firing was illegal and cited racial discrimination. Hooters, however, is criticizing the decision, saying on their website, Ms. Johnson's claims of discrimination are simply without merit, and Hooters received an adverse and flawed decision. Even so, Johnson was awarded $250,000 for lost wages and legal fees.
Playboy bunny playmate bunnies dressed in hypersexualized costumes to serve alcoholic drinks at clubs. 2 men in the Playboy clubs for low pay and wages. All the Playboy clubs had a cleanup crew, aka head managers and security at the clubs, which hushed up sexual assault allegations and other incidents without involving the police. Cleanup efforts would be avoided to avoid reports of misconduct from hitting the media or the police department. The cleanups range from covering up rapes, abductions, and also overdoses that would happen, at the Playboy clubs. Women are afraid to come forward with a VIP assault. They would lose their jobs often because that's how it worked with Playboy, because that's what capitalism is. Capitalism puts profits over everything. Capitalism is a predatory system that values profits over, everything. Another example is alleged rapes that happened off and away from the mansion at the clubs. The women didn't report the alleged crimes or rapes to the Playboy management because they were afraid of professional repercussions since incidents happened off company property, and the official policy was not to fraternize with customers. Even those bunnies who did not discuss alleged sexual violence detailed the painful reality of conforming to the signature Playboy bunny look. They had to buy and maintain the cost of the costume. If something went wrong with the costume, they had to pay out of pocket for it for themselves. Out of their own pocket, they had to pay for the whole costume. Just like places like Hooters, at Playboy clubs, weight gain was a major concern, often resulting in public shaming and professional punishment. Hooters backpedals on its new uniforms after major backlash from employees themselves. Hooters emphasizes that its servers must be fit, meaning not curvy, overweight, or obese, or the server could face alleged termination, using the same tactics as Playboy clubs as usual that were exposed in the Playboy documentary. Cracker Barrel, Applebee's, and more has a history of accusations of racism and supporting big tobacco companies by allowing smoking. Cracker Barrel accusations of racism and discrimination have been muddying the chain's image of a wholesome country store in the South for some time.
Oh my God! We have not been
Is she normally this emotional?
She's almost positive. The server said she's positive.
Let me get her face. She said she almost positive.
In 2004, ABC News reported that Cracker Barrel was sued by 21 people for over $100 million for allegedly promoting segregation against African Americans and unfair discrimination by staff. Cracker Barrel restaurant actually, admitted racism. The chain agreed to pay a $8.7 million settlement to resolve all lawsuits against black customers and staff, and 16 states also said they were subjected to racial slurs and served food from the trash can, while Cracker Barrel CEO themselves and management ignored and never condoned such actions. The settlement found that black customers at many of the chain restaurants that were seated in areas segregated from white patrons frequently received inferior service and often were made to wait longer for tables. Black people who complained about poor service were also treated less favorably than white people. Applebee's paid over $100,000 to settle EEOC lawsuit over sexual orientation and race discrimination, retaliation for complaining. According to the lawsuit, 2 members of the restaurant staff verbally harassed a black employee, and one of the black employees was calling them homophobic slurs and also wearing a Confederate flag paraphernalia. And when he spoke out about it, the victim of capitalism, his hours were cut and he was forced to quit. All the fast food places, along with restaurants as a whole, are known for their union busting as well. In June, Starbucks permanently closed its busiest store in New York after the newly unionized baristas there went on a short strike to protest unsanitary conditions. In July, Chipotle did the same, shuttered a restaurant in Augusta, Maine, shortly after its workers petitioned to vote for the First Nations' first unionized Chipotle. Also, during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, workers at an Illinois McDonald's had to go on strike just to receive masks. McDonald's is facing fresh claims of worker exploitation and wage slavery, with compensation being sought for more than 250,000 current and former employees who were allegedly robbed of rest breaks. Treatment of workers by customers and Karens. Capitalism's and society's toxic normalization of treating workers badly in Karen culture.
Hey, stop!
Well, the employee tells me she actually has second-degree burns on her face, arms, and hands from that scalding hot coffee being thrown on her. Now, the customer responsible, she's been arrested and charged with aggravated battery.
Get out!
Fuck your hands off me.
Get the fuck out of here, bitch. Get out. Cunt.
And that's the one that got it started right there. That girl right there.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, you really want to go there?
You got it started.
I don't think you do. I think you need to just get the fuck out like he told you to.
Yeah.
The customer is always right slogan is wrong and very dangerous. Workers do not deserve and have to put up with bullshit from unhinged Karen and customers. On January 2019, a 16-year-old employee teen was working at the drive-thru McDonald's in Camden, South Carolina, when a customer drove up to her window, began an argument, and threw scalding hot coffee in her face. A customer complained about waiting too long for an order of large McDonald's fries. That same month in Phoenix, Arizona, a customer threatened a McDonald's employee with a shotgun when he did not receive hot sauce with his order. There also was an incident of a guy when he tried to get his pizza from a different, a pizza place. He pulled out a gun. And in St. Peters, Florida, another McDonald's customer was charged with battery after reaching over the counter and grabbing an employee by her shirt because there was no straws at the condiment section. In another incident, an Asian woman threw a metal tray and a milkshake at a McDonald's manager's face for not letting her get a free soda at the soda machine. Again, in January, this time in Omaha, Nebraska, McDonald's, workers faced a gunman who demanded they turn over the store's cash in the cash register. The cycle continues with other fast food restaurants as well, not only McDonald's. These narratives are indicative of a pattern of violence that occurs in their workplaces on a routine basis, from belligerent customers irate over missing ketchup, a messed up order, a messed up burger, etc. In the last 3 years alone, the media has covered more than 700 incidents of workplace violence at McDonald's stores all across the United States. Yet, as shown below, the incidents covered by the media are only a small fraction of the total number of violent crimes that occur at McDonald's stores regularly each year, because capitalism media doesn't really care about any of this. Verbal threats, harassment, and other types of assault often go unreported to authorities. Regardless of media attention, these incidents of workplace violence regularly place workers at risk. According to Occupational Safety and Health Administration, workplace violence includes physical assault, threatened behavior, and verbal abuse that occur in a workplace setting. This report outlines the extent of severity of workplace violence at McDonald's stores and other stores. It includes an analysis of violent incidents reported in the media, violence data, and interviews with current and former McDonald's workers who have experienced violence while on the job. This report shows McDonald's is failing and other fast food places are failing in its legal and morality duty to protect employees a safe work environment. But the truth is that capitalist companies don't have morality, because under the system that is capitalism, profits over lives of animals, people, and Mother Earth herself every day under capitalism system. Capitalism is a psychopathic, evil system that only cares about profits and money. In particular, the analysis shows that McDonald's long hours of operation, which are the longest among its national competitors, regularly expose thousands of workers to risk due to the high levels of violence associated with late-night retail and the job itself. In Chicago, for example, more than 21 calls are made on an average day to emergency services and 911 from McDonald's stores in the city. According to Elvira Gonzalez, a victim of capitalism, a worker from McDonald's store in Chicago, she and her co-workers regularly experience violence in the job. I have witnessed so many fights and robberies. Once a man hit me on my back with a yellow wet floor sign, all because he wanted to use the bathroom that I was cleaning. Another time a customer got into a fight with the cashier and hit her. I almost got hit too. I ran and hid under a table. Another time some men came into the store and stole my purse with all my belongings. Workers who endure episodes of violence as either victims or witnesses of the crime may experience both physical and psychological injuries, which can have a dealist effect on their work and personal lives. Even though these workers are injured as a direct result of workplace hazards, they have very few rights or protections in the wake of violent incidents. In the United States alone, the majority of the fast food workers receive no paid sick leave or health insurance because of capitalism. As a result, these workers are at the mercy of Capitalist Pig, the CEO of McDonald's and other fast food chains, and other fast food places who own the trademark to these companies, who may pressure them to continue working immediately after a traumatic incident, so the CEO of McDonald's or other fast food chains can live a life of luxury off the backs of the fast food capitalism exploitation workers with the fruits of the employees' labor, the wage slaves that they took. Experiencing or witnessing workplace violence can also have a devastating impact on the victim's well-being. Since the security and quality of life, victims may experience emotional shock and denial, which can worsen decision-making abilities and hinder active participation in daily life. Victims may also experience acute stress disorder or post-traumatic stress disorder as well, both which can lead to difficulty sleeping, anxiety disorders, and other additional symptoms of distress. Some workers report that McDonald's managers do not allow employees to go home or take time off work to cope with their often terrifying experiences. In 2018, Atlanta local media covered the story of a McDonald's employee who was forced to continue working after she had a gun pointed in her face. "I can hardly sleep," she said. "If I do, it's just a flashback. I was traumatized because I never endured such a situation like that before, period." The worker also told a local news network that her boss made her stay on the clock. "I wanted to go home to my kids because I could have never seen them again if I was murdered. My kids would have been motherless, but my managers told me that they've been through storms, tornadoes, and floods, and she should stay. I didn't want to leave, and I was scared to leave because I was afraid of losing my job. If I walk out and lose my job, who's going to feed me and my kids?" These restaurant chains have also been accused of the climate change crisis, pollution and deforestation, and biodiversity loss across the globe. The Amazon fires are no accident. Close to 2.5 million acres of land, an area larger than Wales, was burned by the Brazilian Amazon during August, during the data published by INPE, Brazil's agency responsible for monitoring forests from space. Fires were deliberately started and set by farmers and land grabbers encouraged by the fascist president Bolsonaro's calls to open the Amazon to agriculture. McDonald's, Burger King, and KFC, and all the other giant capitalism companies have all committed to stop deforestation, but they are all failing because capitalism is a horrible system that puts profits over lives of everything. These companies don't care about the environment. Here is a quote and tweet that sums up capitalism's impact on the environment and what capitalism really thinks of environmentalism. The Amazon rainforest sucks carbon from the air and stores it in billions of trees. It produces a flying river of vapor water that impacts weather and other continents. Trees give us life, they give us oxygen. It brings rain to otherwise dry regions of South America. It is home to hundreds of indigenous peoples as a whole and a staggering biodiversity of plant and animal species in life. McDonald's is using palm oil that's driving orangutans to extinction. Palm oil is a source of significant deforestation, especially in Indonesia, the fascist country, which is home to 10 to 15% of all known mammals, birds, and plants. According to the Orangutan Project, nearly 80% of orangutan habitat has disappeared in the last 2 decades, and now more than 50% of orangutans live in unprotected forests that are managed by palm oil timber logging and mining companies. Palm oil is the leading cause of extinction for the critically endangered orangutan species. Orangutans aren't the only, animal at risk here. Sumerian tigers as a whole, suffer from palm oil production as well. There are thought to be only 400 of those tigers left. Pygmy elephants, Sumerian rhinos, how all the rhinos are going extinct because of capitalism and poaching. Capitalism isn't a sustainable system. Burger King deforests lands in Brazil, Bolivia for cattle feed, animal agriculture is one of the main causes of climate change and deforestation. Companies found in Burger King's supply chain have been linked to ongoing destruction of forests and native prairies, the report warned. U.S. companies supplying meat to Burger King are deforestation millions of acres in Brazil and Bolivia and other Latin American countries to grow soy that feeds cattle. contracting farmers who are enticed by the growing the product. A new report showed between 2001 and 2010, an average of approximately 9 million acres of forest were destroyed each year, mostly for soy and cattle production and harvesting in Latin America.